When we finished class on Friday, this is where we were. We were talking about one last transformation, which is a reflection over the y-axis, which is a horizontal reflection. And the point I was making that was that, as we've seen with the horizontal shift, when you make the change to the input value, that's when you see the horizontal transformation. So we saw the horizontal shift right here when we made the shift, when we subtracted 3 before the function of x squared was applied. So this is the previous transformation we looked at of shifting the whole thing 3 units to the right. And in this case, what we're looking at is what is the effect of if you replace x with negative x? What effect does that have? Well, I went ahead and if it's negative x, it's going to be the negative of negative 9, which is positive 9. And then if it's negative of the negative of 6, that's positive 6. And if it's a negative of, if x is negative 3, this is going to be the negative of negative 3. So we're just negating each of the x's. Okay? So we'll do this in a couple of steps. And so the difference there is 0. This is negative 3, negative 6, negative 9. And this is negative 12. If we then square this, that's what this arrow is for. Now that we figured out negative x minus 3, we're going to square that. So that's going to be 36, 9, 0, 9, 36, 81, 144. Okay. Let's compare that with what happens when we just did x minus 3 squared. Okay. And you have this in your notes, but I'll put it here again. This is going to be negative 12 squared, which, see, negative 9 minus 3 is negative 12. This is going to be negative 12 squared, which is 144. I don't know why that's there, sorry. And then negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. Squared that is 81. And then negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Square that is 36. And 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Square that is 9. 3 minus 3 is 0 after you square it. 6 minus 3 is just 3. Square that, you get 9. And then 9 minus 3 is 6, which is where you get 36. I want you to compare these two. Okay? This is a parabola that comes down and has its lowest point at 3. It goes from 144 down to 0, then back up to 36. This is a parabola that has its lowest point at negative 3. Starts at 36, has its lowest point, and then goes back up to 144. Compare these two columns. Look how these numbers have just flipped. We start with 144, then 81, 36, 9, 0, 9, 36. This parabola, which did have its vertex at 0, has now flipped over the y-axis and now has its, it had its vertex at 3, is now flipped over the y-axis, and it now has its vertex at negative 3. So the way that would look is if we were to graph that. In the original, this was shifted 3 units to the right. So when x is 3, 0, and when x is 0, it's up here at 9. I'll use a slightly different scale. There we go. So it's coming down something like this. This is just a sketch. Okay. In this case, when x is negative 3, that's when it's 0. when x is 0, it's up to 9 again, so same thing. So what we're seeing here is this is just going to this is just a flip, just a reflection over the y-axis. If I was to fold my page on this y-axis, and if these were drawn perfectly, which they're not obviously, but if they were drawn perfectly, then this would just lie on top of this. So I just wanted to do that so that we would finish up the example that we ran out of time on when we were in class on Friday.